Welcome to Technically Religious, where we talk about the interesting, frustrating, and inspiring experiences we have as people with strongly held religious views working in corporate IT. We're not here to preach or teach you our religion. We're here to explore ways we make our career as IT professionals mesh, or at least not conflict, with our religious life. This is Technically Religious.
This is a continuation of the discussion we started last week. Thank you for coming back to join our conversation. I think there's another thing. So, Mike, you were talking about being, visibly open religious. And I think that sometimes, again, for a variety of reasons, they decide that this is their opportunity to sort of poke the bear.
Yes.
You're one of those religious people. So,
Right.
what do you think about the...
Right.
Like whatever it is. And, we don't even need to get into the specifics of it, but they just want to see it. There's a respectful conversation, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, about some of the wonderful opportunities conventions offer us to have deep, really meaningful philosophical conversations. But there's also these, which is where someone is clearly, oh, you're religious? Well, fine. Answer me this.
Right. If you're so religious, gee, on the Statue of Liberty, it says, "Bring me your tired and poor," and then so you don't believe in all of this, preventing immigration, right?
Yeah, or it'll be the more lighthearted stuff. I get teased on. So my peers on the cube when Pat from VMware. Pat Gelsinger is on. They were like, "Oh, Keith, you and Pat are on together. You guys go to the same church, right?" Because Pat is super transparent about his faith. So it's all in fun. But you will get to this. But I say no to certain events and things, and so does Pat or whomever else. Everybody else on this podcast, and
right.
you're going to get a ribbing about it,
right? Or Al, come on, you've had a beer, just one.
It's not going to hurt.
Know?
It's not going to hurt.
Right?
Come on.
Right.
I order Al.Do all the time.
My man.
Horrible substitutes.
Do they still have those, by the way?
They do.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So right, so those are some challenges, and I'm just curious, not what are those conversations have you had? Because I think we all have horror stories, but what do you do about those? Especially, I'm going to say, especially when it's not someone Like if it's somebody you can shut it down in very specific ways. But when it's a complete stranger who may be coming to your company booth, there's a relationship you have to maintain. What do you do about that?
I almost always so those are no-win situations, right? It's just not going to end well if you take the bait. So you got to start with the assumption that you're not going to take the bait, first of all. And so what's the best way to do that? Well, my favorite, and you got to remember too, from a time standpoint, these conversations normally last 3 to 5 minutes, right, before something else happens. So you're gonna get a get out of jail free card if you just can kill some time, right?
That's great.
And
So I always say, oh, that's that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's hard. What do you think? What do you think about it?
Flip it around.
And flip it right around.
Yeah, and Al, I'm pretty sure you can relate to this, being a follower of Islam. I've gotten way worse than people challenging me on gay rights or whatever. Just for I don't know if you noticed this. You can't tell over the podcast waves, but I'm black, so I've gotten way worse than uncomfortable questions at a conference about my faith. And those things, unfortunately, those things kind of train you for this. And you're like, it's people can only take, in a professional environment, people can only take those things so far. And they can't take it as far as they can take, the racial slurs in a non-professional environment. So that stuff really doesn't, sometimes I don't even get that they're going at me, because it's, I don't always read between the lines.
I was telling Leon before we started the podcast, the juice is not worth the squeeze. So if you can avoid conflict, you're going to step away from it. In years past, I probably wasn't as open to speaking about religion or ethnicity as I am these days, but I will be mindful of who I'm speaking to. And I don't mean that to sound disrespectful, but if it's someone that approaches me that has a genuine interest in learning about Islam or Ramadan most recently, and I feel like in their heart that they genuinely care and want to know why we practice this, I don't mind talking about it. And I even let them know, I thank you. I appreciate you because you're taking a step most people wouldn't. They fear, for whatever reason, crossing that line. But we have to get past that. We have to be open and be able to speak to one another.
Right. So I, again, being a very visibly Orthodox Jewish person, I'm always, when I see that somebody is trying to ask something, the first thing I tell them is, first of all, ask me anything. Second of all, don't try to be polite about it. Don't worry if you're clumsy or awkward. Don't worry about saying the wrong word. Don't worry about, asking a question that you think is maybe beyond the pale. It's okay. I know that you're sincere.
Right.
I know that you're curious.
Right.
Don't let your own feelings of hesitation stop you from asking a question that you want to know. That's okay.
Right.
And again, that's the flip side of it. And to all of your points, when it's not one of those, when it's somebody who is very obviously they just want to get
fights.
They want to needle you.
Yeah, they just, you know what? Mike, I love your point. Like, you've got about 90 seconds. If you can make it through 90 seconds, something else shiny is going to distract them and they're going to be off to something else. That's a really good piece of advice.
That's good.
So moving on, another challenging area for folks with a religious or ethical moral point of view and conventions is situations that push your limits. Obviously, there are moments that you can say no to. And I think we've mentioned a few of those already, but some of them are not. Some of them are, hey, the executive is taking everyone out to this place. It's like, I don't know about that place, but no, everyone's going, Leon. Everyone's going. Or you've got a client or a customer, or, you've got one of those things. And all of a sudden, the hard no is not available to you.
Right.
And now you need to balance, some very specific aspects. So I'm curious if you've run into that and how you navigate it.
Yeah, I have the advantage that the views and tweets of me are the views and tweets of my employer. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't you know what? I have this motto in life that has generally served me well. My wife doesn't like it too much. The worst any employer can do is fire me, and I came from humble means, and I'm not scared. I don't want to, but I'm not scared to go back to them. So there's not much I get, forced to into work. I've had these confrontations over and over in my career. I've just said, the hard no for me is a hard no.
Yes, exactly. And two, I always, whenever I'm evaluating a decision like this, I always think, what would Jesus do? Right? It's kind of a cliche in Christian circles right now, but so Jesus went into all kinds of different places with people, and when he did that, he was not judgmental of them. Well, there was a few people that he was judgmental with, the people that were sort of hypocritically religious, right? They would say all these great things, but then on the side they weren't really doing what they were saying. That was one thing that he just had no patience for. So, if I just stay away from that, I should be in a good shape. But, so I might go to a bar that is, has topless women, right? And that is really super hard for me, because that's, it's denigrating to women. It's very risky. People could get in trouble. I mean, there's so many things wrong with that I don't know what's right with it. but the CEO says we're going, and so I'll go off in a corner somewhere with somebody else. There's almost always one or two other people that are in my same shoes, right, that don't want to be there, and so we'll find each other like really fast, like medical or metal pieces on a magnet, right? We'll just collect and we'll go somewhere and we'll do something else. We're there, but we're not really participating. And then, the next day, we can't make a big deal out of it either, right? So you don't want to fall into that trap either of, starting to be judgmental of people the next day. You got to let it lie, never bring it up again.
Yeah, and I think I love your perspective, kind of the whole, Jesus went everywhere perspective. I draw the line at when it's not healthy for me, and so there are just certain situations that are not healthy for me. For example, when I was younger, so I guess you can always say you're recovering. You have a recovering addiction. So I have a recovering addiction to gambling. I am not going, there's a tradition where the last night of VMworld, everyone goes and shoots craps at the table with an individual from the community. That's just not something I'm going to do. Nothing inherently wrong with it. I'm just not going to do it because it's not healthy for me to do. So that's kind of where I kind of draw the line of when I know that it will force me to fall into a temptation that I struggle with,
right,
I avoid it.
Exactly.
I was just going to say there's two factors for me, and I'm sure one of them applies to all of us. As a parent, we want to act the way we preach to our kids. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation and then have yourself explain to your kids why you got to that point, regrettably. Another thing is if you're surrounded by good people, good friends that respect your opinions and how you approach life, telling them no won't hurt their feelings.
Nice. Good. Okay, so we've been dancing around the third part of this conversation a little bit, and I want to dive into that because it's not all struggle and pain and suffering. There's some amazing parts about conventions, not just, again, as IT professionals, there's amazing parts of conventions, period. The things that you learn and the people that you see and the relationships that you make, the conversations that continue long after the convention is over, the insights that you get, those are obviously why people spend a not insignificant amount of money and a not insignificant amount of time getting there and doing them. But as folks with a religious, ethical, or moral point of view, I think that conventions represent opportunities that, that you might not otherwise have. Back to the punchline, the opportunity to be, a Jew, Muslim, and Christian who walk into the prayer room all together and like, hey, we're all doing the same thing, different language, different style. That's not something that you necessarily get the opportunity to do back in your home neighborhood all the time. And you also have the opportunity to meet folks who are in IT, who are also following a similar or the same path you are. So the opportunity to meet up with folks, I was at reInvent 2 years ago. And there was a whole contingent of folks from Israel who were there, and a bunch of folks from America. And we all got together, and we all headed out in the same car to the kosher restaurant, which is sort of 20 minutes off the strip. And we had a great time. We had conversations about, so what's happening at your work and how do you do this and whatever. And that was something that I would never have had the opportunity to do had I not gone to reInvent. So I'm curious, what experiences have you had that are real opportunities that conventions offer you?
To your point, to your story, the next time you go to reInvent, you're probably going to reach out to those people and say to them, hey, let's do that again, or let's get together again and do this instead, or, hey, I found this other thing. And so each one that you go to then, year after year, you build stronger and stronger relationships, and it makes that event richer and richer and richer. I'll also say that there's tremendous opportunity at these events to really act out your faith. From a Christian standpoint, compassion, kindness, gentleness, humility, self-control. These are the essential elements of Christianity. And forgiving, right? And love. And so if you find yourself going to the bar after the event just to socialize, you can quickly see who might be struggling right now, because you never know. Like we said in the earlier part of the podcast, somebody, Leon, might have gotten a call that morning about some disaster that happened. Their kid got called into the principal's office and kicked out of school, or some disaster might have happened in their life, and here they are 12 hours away in Abu Dhabi, and there's nothing they can really do. And if you could go up to them and say, hey, you look like you're a little down and out, what's going on, and there you sit for the next hour just listening to the person, right? Asking them good questions. To me, that is the best kind of expression of what I call authentic Christianity.
Nice. Just as a side note, we do have a WhatsApp group that we maintain for, year after year, like, okay, we're all coming back. Like, what's going on? So yes, absolutely. That does happen. And I like your idea of it being an opportunity to, and we use this as one of the topics for one of our other episodes, being a light unto the nations, to be out there and just, walk the walk. That's great. What other experiences have you had?
For me, most recently, attending the VMUG Leader Summit at the VMware headquarters in February. I was very blessed to meet fellow Muslim VMUG leaders from Egypt and Kuwait, and we've remained in contact since then. I now consider them friends, and I'm sure they feel the same way. For them, this was, I believe, their first time to the States, so it was kind of an uneasy trip, not knowing what to expect. I think it's not about me when I say this, but the fact that I am Muslim and I am Arabic and I speak Arabic, it made them feel like they were somewhat at home.
Here I am with my tzitzit, the fringes hanging out. I got my kippah on my head. I'm very demonstrably Orthodox, and I think it's an opportunity for people who might have thought, oh, I can't be like that in my IT world. I have to have this whole other sort of crypto identity that remains hidden, and for me to be able to be very visible like that gives them permission also maybe to consider ways in which they can be visible and not uncomfortable. And Al, to your point, the fact that you are here, that you've made that you're comfortable in this space, that you can be an ambassador in that way, I think is an amazing blessing and an opportunity for you and them.
It is. I mean, if you'd asked me this 5-10 years ago, I probably would have, and I don't mean it to sound negative, or I don't know how you describe it, but I probably would have distanced myself. But now I feel more comfortable with who I am, what I represent, and how I was raised. And I think it just helps for everybody involved, regardless of religion. We're all one at the end of the day. We're just one human race. So we need to coexist. As you guys know, all three major religions started in Jerusalem. So we need to come back to the fundamentals and respect one another, be courteous to one another, and be kind.
I love the demonstration of sheer love. Like, it's not just the conferences, it's the overall community. Not maybe a small portion of the community is religious. I don't know. I just know that when my family was in need, the community stepped up. And whether that's, my wife's current situation, my brother with losing his wife, my brother with losing his son the year before, it's amazing to see how much love is generated from this community. See people and, get hugs and get energy. My wife will comment that if it's not a tech field day or VMworld or whatever, that I'm not coming back refreshed. And I'm like, you know what? I come back refreshed, not just because technically I got something out of the conference, but emotionally, as much as draining as it is to be around people, I also get an incredible amount of energy from positivity, and the amount of positivity that we've gotten in this past 3 years that's been coupled with the negativity has been, life-changing.
Thanks for making time for us this week. To hear more of Technically Religious, visit our website, technicallyreligious.com, where you can find our other episodes, leave us ideas for future discussions, and connect us on social media. Hey, there's this great convention happening next week in Cleveland. Who's in?
I got
No, I'm good.
I'm sorry.